guys, welcome to the call this week. Today my guest is Todd Grierson. Todd is a president at the Grierson Consulting firm, and Todd's also chief operating officer at Andy Work as well. Welcome to the call, Todd. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about these two firms, Todd. What is, what do you guys do at the Grierson Consulting firm and also Andy Work as well?
So Grierson Consulting, I'm a business development consultant. So okay. I work with businesses to help them identify if they're dealing with challenges, if they're looking for growth, but they're struggling with growth, if they're not as competitive as they want to be. But basically, when I look at it and I speak with a client, I say, let's identify where you are today, and then let's figure out your vision. So where you want to be in 5 or 10 years. And we clarify that vision and go, okay, if that's where you want to get to, and this is where you are, let's determine what steps need to be done on a weekly, monthly, or yearly basis as you're moving forward to help you reach that vision. So I define it with a lot of clients as, think of me as a Google Maps for business. You get in your car, you have a destination, it plots your destination, and then as you're going, you might have to veer off for an accident or something else, but you're still going to end up where you want to get to. So I help people achieve their vision. And then
sorry, go ahead. I was going to go ahead. Sorry.
And then as far as Andy Technologies, I started working with the founder about 2 years ago. And I was coming on as a business advisor. And then I gradually became an investor. And I'm the chief operating officer. So I'm basically helping, guide the company, determine which way we need to go. I'm helping with a lot of business development. So I'm out there talking to different organizations about strategic partnerships, meeting with governments, provincial organizations to help drive and create interest in the app.
So what is it trying to do with this app? What's the purpose of it? Is it finding information, or is connecting businesses? What was the whole goal?
So the whole goal was, originally it was supposed to be an executive assistant app. So like Alexa or Siri, but more functionality, more user-friendly. We were scheduled to launch it last year at the Collision Conference in Toronto, and then COVID hit. So they canceled the conference, and we sat back and said, okay, so now what do we do? And with the impact of COVID, we realized that people don't know where to go at that time to get what they need. There were lineups everywhere because restrictions on how many people could go in a building. So we pivoted the product in about 6 weeks, and we created a wait time app. So Andy basically will tell you, wherever you are in now North America, it'll tell you the closest locations and hours of operations for grocery stores, liquor stores, pharmacies, walk-in clinics, restaurants, bars, patios, big box stores. And it'll actually give you the estimated line time, so you don't have to wait in a line, and you can help schedule your day better. And then as the year went on, in the summertime, late fall, we launched the contact tracing app. So it's like a digital guest check-in. And right now we're just ready to launch a curbside program for small businesses.
I see. It's very interesting, Todd. I was going through your information on a LinkedIn, and you previously built a company, and it grew to 192%, a 50 million company, and you sold Elmira Poultry. That was the right name for the company, Todd?
Yeah, Elmira Poultry, yes.
So there's a lot I want to talk about. There's so much to learn from your experience on that. So before we get started, if you can simply just walk over viewers through how it all got started. Did you want to always build a company growing up? Where did you grew up, and how your journey's been before you started that company?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so 2 days out of high school, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, and Elmira Poultry was looking for a truck driver. So at 18 years old, I started driving truck, and over the next 14 years, my mindset is, whatever you need me to do, I'll do. And as much opportunity as I can to learn something or a new skill, I will do. So I started off as a truck driver, and I worked my way through production, sanitation, maintenance, to supervision. And the last role that I had that I enjoyed the most was I was operations manager. And at that point, the company had 160 employees, 40,000 square foot plant with 6 production lines. I love making things. And in 1999, the owner was looking to sell. So myself and 2 partners, we bought the company, and we grew the company from 24 million a year in sales to just over 50 million a year in sales in 6 years. And then we sold it. So it wasn't anything I necessarily planned to do, but once you get in it and you just love the company and it grows and you're growing with it, it just happened.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of hard work behind the whole process, but what was that? You ground up this company because you started from very ground level, and then you went rose up in a management. So what do you think? What are some of the key factors that contributed to the success of this company? They're growing.
Okay, so that's another great question. So, and this is what I help companies do today. So when I looked at starting my consulting business, I said, okay, look at what we did with Elmira Poultry. We grew that company. We doubled its size in 6 years. So what are the key areas that we looked at and what were we good at that allowed us to get that success? Mm-hmm. And I narrowed it down to 10 areas or 10 questions. And those 10 areas are what I focus my discovery sessions on when I'm meeting with a client, and it helps really understand their business. But to answer your original question, the biggest contributor that we had is we created a strategic plan. We sat there in 1999 and we created a 15-year strategic plan. We said in 15 years, this is where we want the company to be, and this is when we're going to sell the company. So we had a very detailed plan. We actually got together 19 of our associates, all in leadership roles in different departments, and we created a strategic plan. And we worked that plan and we lived it. And we were right on track for what we planned on growing. So it's important for a company to create a strategic plan. And this is where a lot of companies, they think that a strategic plan is this massive undertaking, but it's not. It can be very simple, but it's just start with something simple and let it evolve over time. But a lot of companies, what happens is they think they know where they want to go, but they're not sure. And then what happens is 5 or 10 years later, they're sitting here with a business going, well, this isn't where I want it to be. I'm making products or I have clients that I didn't want to have. So how did I get here? Well, a lot of companies get there because they don't map it out. They don't have any guideline to follow to make sure that they're keeping in check, key performance indicators and measure their progress. And it gets carried away.
Wow. So you guys started a growth with the end in mind. What's end result you were looking where you want to get to? So talk about some of that. I'm sure there was a lot of obstacles going through that growth from 20 million to 22 million, if I get the number right, to 50 million. That's a big growth over 6 years. You mentioned, right?
Yep. Yes.
That's a big growth. I mean, what kind of challenges you guys had to go through? I'm sure there's a lot of sweat equity and equity and a lot of hard work put into it. Talk about some of the challenges you guys got through.
Probably the biggest challenge was money. Because we bought the company, so we were paying the company, like we were paying the previous owner for purchasing it. We were investing in equipment because we were growing the business, and it's hard to do all those things at once. So probably the biggest challenge we have is, so one example with one of our clients was President's Choice. And when you're going into a May 24 launch, they expected to have, I think it was 70% of the inventory up 2 weeks before. So you're sitting on millions of dollars of inventory. We're trying to balance the money here and there. There was 2 times where we had to remortgage our houses to reinvest in the company to keep our ratios in check for the bank. And the bank worked with us as much as we could, but probably the biggest challenge was being able to finance the growth and support it the way we needed to. That was probably the biggest. Yeah, it's always money.
Wow. So there's so many challenges every time you try, the growth, And how about people? One of the items you had how many? You had partners, right? 3 partners you mentioned, or 4?
2 partners. There's 3 of us.
3 of us. Okay. How difficult is working with a partnership environment? Todd, you gotta make sure everybody stays in the same level. Everybody has the same commitment. Everybody's pulling in the same direction. People dynamic. If you talk about it, not only the partnership level, how about the management level as well? How big the challenge is that when you're trying to grow a company?
So this was interesting. So one of my partners was my brother, and a third partner was a friend of my brother's, and we had a strong partnership. We were all very dedicated, very motivated to the success of the business. There wasn't anything that we couldn't work through. We had my brother and I probably had the most challenges, but between the 3 of us, everybody had their own strengths and everybody respected each strength. So we had our moments of frustration and our challenges that we dealt with, but overall we were pretty unified as far as a leadership team. And the leadership team that we built underneath us, it was also strong. And our company grew. I think when we bought it, there was 150, and by the time we sold, we were at about 180. But our leadership team didn't change that much. And one of the biggest things that I'll get back on was our strategic plan. So when you have that, and the people beneath you, like your employees, help you build it, everybody's working for the same goal because they helped us build the plan. They were on side with it. So it's not like we said, hey, here's where we want to go. do it. No, they were part of the process. So they embraced it. And as long as you work it and have regular meetings and updates, and if there were challenges, we dealt with it right away. So we ran the organization very flat. So if there was an issue, it was someone would come in one of our offices, the three of us would meet, find a decision. What are we going to do? Great. And it was done. And that's how we made decisions, and that's how we rolled. So yeah, we had our challenges, but I think our employees understood our dedication, and we were very upfront. We had quarterly meetings where we take the entire organization off site. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's going on. We were very open, and we over communicated with our employees to make sure that they knew what was happening, even if it was bad. They knew what was going on, and they appreciated that because they knew there was a future. They knew they had job security. So it was good. We did a good job with how we ran everything and communicated. That was probably one of our biggest things, of how we communicated with people.
Yeah, that is one of the challenges. When I talk to a business leader or president of the company or owner, they're trying to build a company these days. People is the biggest challenge, right? And bringing everybody in the same, making sure everybody's in a level where everybody's pulling in the same direction and everybody aligned with the company vision. That is definitely one of the biggest challenge companies face. So what experience you guys had? I'm sure there's a lot of experience in between two of you building the company. Can that be transferable to other companies who are trying to grow? Can you take some of that approaches you take in this business and translate that to other businesses and help them to grow their business if they want to grow?
Absolutely, it's what I do with my clients today. And what doesn't surprise me, but we were doing this back in 1999 when we bought the business, like strategic plans, vision, core values. And there's so many companies that they don't do it today. So exactly what we did with Elmira Poultry, that's how I help businesses. It's the same thing that I do.
So why do you think that is? Why people don't invest time and effort into it and building all the strategy, to get somewhere? Is it leadership, or is it just a personal commitment, I guess?
I think it could be, it's personal commitment, it's fear, it's time, and I would think it's the same, but the biggest thing is fear. It's very hard for an owner of a business to take what's in their head and write it down, because then they're committed. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they like to run their business. They don't like to share everything that's going on in their head because they can change and make pivots whenever they want. But the unfortunate thing with that is then their employees, their team, well, they don't know what's going on. Like if they're not sharing what's happening in your business, then you don't really know. So they don't know, do we have a job? Are we going to sell the company? Like, what are we doing? So, you need to communicate, and yeah, you need to share your ideas. But when it comes to fear, I think a lot of owners, one, they're too wrapped up in their business. So they're so busy running their business, they can't actually step back to see what's going on with their business. And that's another way that I help companies. But for me to say to a lot of businesses, do you know what your vision is? Or, have you thought about creating a strategic plan? They're like, I don't need one, or no, it's too much work. It scares me. A lot of it's fear. It's change. They don't think they need to do it. And a lot of companies, and this is surprising as well, there's a lot of companies that, because they're doing well, because they're making good margins and their sales are solid, they think, I don't have to change anything. But that's one of the biggest problems a lot of companies have, because you can't think like that. Because if you're not doing it, your competition is. And you can only rest in your morals for so long, but somebody's going to come out of the blue and go, oh, where'd that coming? Like, what happened? And then the problem is, these are things that a business needs to think about 6 months or a year before, but all of a sudden, if they're hit with the problem, they have to deal with it now. It's too late. They should have been working on it before. Yeah. So
you mentioned a lot of good points there, Todd. Fear and commitment, and these are personal challenges. I think every business leader goes through it. If you can talk about, did you guys have to, if you have a company of 2 million, it's a totally different company. But the company that looks, at 10 million is a different company. You get to 20 million different, and sometimes leaders have to work on a personal, a lot of personal challenges. I like change, but if I'm trying to grow my company from 10 to 20, I may have to change 3 things, right? So if you can talk about what kind of personal challenges that you guys, dealt with when you guys were a growing company. I'm sure you get, as a leaders, you guys dealt with the different challenges, different time. And what do you see in a leadership, the company you're working with right now? What kind of obstacles leaders going through, especially COVID, COVID changed leadership a little bit. The way you manage people, the way you handle business is a little bit different now, right? So if you can tackle those personal challenges in your company, also what you see in the market.
So we were a lot of business owners don't want to recognize where they're weak. And one of the first things that we did is we set up an advisory board. So we brought in our accountants and our lawyers and some different people that we respected in business. And we said, okay, you need to come on board and help us, because we realized that there's things that we might not necessarily know. So we had resources that we could pull from. So a lot of business owners don't want to recognize that they have a weakness or a challenge. So having an advisor, having a team of advisors to help you is a great step. Okay. So that's what we had done. And we used an advisory board for probably the first year and a half, 2 years. And then we just started running. Sorry about that. And then as far as business owners today, that's how I help them. So I help them look at their business from the outside. I help advise them on some of the challenges that they can overcome, and they use me as a resource. A client I just started working with last week, they basically said, these are the things that I don't want to deal with and I need help with. Can you come on board and help me with these decisions? Of course I can, because that's what I've done in the past. Okay. So it's admitting you need some help. And then when you talk about COVID, a lot of businesses have struggled, clearly, but I think the ones that haven't struggled are the ones that have figured out, how do we pivot? And I know a lot of people don't like that word, but how do we adapt to a changing market? How do we change the way that we do business to the way that business is going to be done and could be done even after COVID? So it's having an open mind to think about, what else can we do with our business? So think about restaurants. There's so many small restaurants that they have a great business, they have a great clientele, but they didn't have a website, they didn't have online sales. Well, COVID then forced them to, maybe we need a website, maybe we need to have curbside sales, because if we don't do that, we're not going to survive. Same with retail. So there's a lot of businesses that recognize that they need to change, and a lot of others that they struggle with it because, one, they either don't know what to do and they don't want to ask for help, or some of them are still resistant to change.
When we talk about this pivot, Todd, are we talking where you see the biggest impact? Pivot is on a personal scale, because sometimes, in a business, as you know, business simply output of your personal growth. If you're growing as a business leader, even the COVID challenge comes, you have to grow as a business leader. Or the second piece is, a lot of companies had to reinvent or innovate the way they deliver product and services. Either they have to refigure out, the services they're delivering. Maybe I got to deliver it differently because of COVID, or maybe I got to build a different product, or I got to package the product differently, or deliver it, differently. So is it on product or services side more, or do you think on a personal side as well? Or is all included?
It's everything that you said. You can't. It's everything you said. You have to look at your product and services and go, okay. And this is where some businesses, they don't think about the customer enough. They think their messaging's right. They think their product's right. But what they forget to do is talk to your customers. Actually find out what they want. Ask them, what do you want? What do you need? And that'll help you define what you need to do with your business right away. So that's another part that business owners, they don't do. But the answers are there. Like I said, just talk to your clients, see what they need, but then you need to experiment. You need to go to webinars, read what's going on in the papers, and just to try and determine, get all the information that you can to try and determine, okay, I've got information from here and clients and surveys. Okay, based on all this information, I think we need to go this way. And then before you go that way, talk to a couple of customers. Say, hey, we're thinking of doing this. What do you think? Yeah. Give me your feedback, because it's going to help, because you're here for them. And the other question is, talk to your people that work for you. The people that work for you are your most knowledgeable people. And that is a resource that unfortunately a lot of businesses forget about. You've got people that are working in your company that have been there for 5, 10, 15 years. They have a wealth of knowledge. I'll guarantee that they probably know what half of the problems are. But the biggest problem is you're not asking them. Ask your employees, hey, what do you think would change? What do you think we could change to make things better? What do you think we could do? What are customers saying? You need to bridge that gap. And a lot of people don't do that.
So just open communication with your people and get the feedback. What are you trying to do?
Oh, yeah, it is. But be careful what you ask for. So an example is we call it a city hall. So anybody that was hired in June, we'd bring them up to our boardroom, and the three of us as owners, we'd meet with them and on their anniversary day and would say, thank you for your years of service. thank for this and ask them a few questions. And then we just asked them, what's going on?
Yeah.
And the information we got was very direct. There was a lot of positive, but there was some pretty challenging things that people would say about your company. But what we were able to do is take that and go, okay, so I didn't like hearing it, but it's obviously reality. So let's deal with it. So we were able to make some pretty good changes based on the feedback from our employees.
Yeah.
You got to listen to them.
You like it or not, if you don't want to hear it, that's a different story. But it's a reality. You like it or not, that's what they're doing. When you were at the, building that company, Elmira Poultry, did you guys have to, there was no COVID at that time, I'm sure, but there's also business challenges. Did you have to go through some and reinvent the way you were doing, delivering product or services? Did you have to reinvent a few times and reposition what you were doing there a few times?
Yeah, actually we did. And I think it was 2001, bird flu hit Canada. And we were getting raw material from all across Canada. And when avian influenza hit, our supply was cut off from British Columbia. And there was another couple other provinces that were locked. So our supply was reduced by 35%. So all of a sudden we're going, well, we still need to, so being able to figure out that challenge, that was big because that affected the entire industry. So there was a lot of, that was probably one of the biggest challenges I think we had that you could relate to COVID. You didn't see it coming. And then there was a little small one was we had that big power outage. That probably was 2003. Where all Southern Ontario was out of power for 2 or 3 days. We had a meat plant with freezers and coolers, and meat only lasts 7 days once it's from kill. So that was another challenging event that we had to deal with. But it was probably avian influenza. It was the power outage, and then we had a fatality the last year that we owned the company. So that was a hurdle we all had to deal with.
I see. And so what gets you through these challenges? Simply just staying focused on the goals? What are you trying to get through, Todd? Or
survival?
Survival.
It's the, well, you can't, there's an answer for everything. There's a solution for everything. It may be not to do anything, but it could be a solution. But we went into everything going, okay, like we can't just roll over. We need to survive. What do we need to do? So you gather your team together and you throw out options, and and in a scenario like that, and you just have the mindset of, okay, there's a solution somewhere. What are we going to do? It's not a. This is one my brother taught me. It's not a problem. People would come in when I was running the plant. They say, "Todd, we have a problem." Like, no, we don't. We have an opportunity to learn.
Interesting.
So, right. Yeah. So it's never a problem. It's like, okay, so what are we going to do with it?
Yeah, I hear a lot of business owners to look at that way. Every problem is opportunity. To solve somebody's problem or to make money, there's always opportunities. If you don't just think it through, if there's opportunity and a problem, that changes your perspective, just the way you look at it.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Interesting. With the COVID, all that innovation we're talking about, you think that's here to stay for even post-COVID? What are your thoughts on 2021? Where do you think that the business is pivoting or what's coming down the pike for us?
Wow. If anybody had an answer for that, I think, I don't know what is going to happen. I think that, the clients I'm working with now, they're pretty open-minded and they're adapting to what we can now. But the problem is, I think, is every other company is looking at it going, okay, so what is in 6 months? What is in 12 months? Are we going to have that 70% vaccination level where it'll come back to a little bit of normality? I don't know if we ever will go back to normal, what it was. Look at the way the businesses are operating. I'm operating from home. A lot of other office people are, restaurants have changed, retail's changed, online business. I was on a webinar mid-COVID last summer. And they talked about how COVID has trained people that would never use the internet, would never go online, would never do their banking online. It's trained them to do it. And they're realizing how easy it is to do it. So they're predicting that 70% of all the people that were forced to go online will stay shopping online, will stay doing all that business online because they've realized how easy it is and how efficient it is.
Yeah.
So how will that change business going forward? I don't know if anybody has an answer. I think what you need to do is look at what you're doing today, adapt, and try and predict as far out as you can, and do the best that you can. But it's hard.
You think that this COVID made people more productive or less productive? There's two different views I usually get from business leaders. Sometimes there's no travel time. It makes people more productive. You cut all the travel time and you cut all the the breaks time, and it makes people more productive. And other side, I also hear business leaders saying, "Hey, listen, at home there's no structure, there's no discipline, so people tend to take much longer to do a task." What are your thoughts? Say, is it working in our favor to be more productive, or is it going the other way around?
I think people are more productive. I do. I think they're getting more done. I think that it's going to go to the other side where people are now having a struggle balancing. I struggle with it. We talked about this before the call, where if the kids or my wife is doing something, I'll just come in my office and work. But I think that people are much more efficient now, and the challenge will be maybe trying to maintain something of a work-life balance. But that's my thought.
Was technology part of what you were when you were building company? Was this technology play any role in it? Was it part of it, or how did you guys look at technology when you were trying to build that big company?
Wow, we embraced technology. I remember, BlackBerry, when they were BlackBerry, we had the first BlackBerries in our company. So all of our supervisors had them on their waist, so that if there was a production change or something we needed to know, everybody knew right away. We embraced it. When you listen, and it's not just a technology that you can hold in your hand. When you look at, standard operating procedures and, having Google Docs and having, access to information wherever you were, we embraced that. And that, and those types of ideas and those types of work that we did actually added to the value of our business. So when we went to sell, the company buying us said, they looked at that as value. So, you have to embrace technology. If you're not, you're just going to fall behind. And it's sometimes it's hard to keep up, but you need to try your best. Because like I said, because if you're not, I'll guarantee your competitors are. If you're not looking at it, they're looking at it. They are.
Yeah. So two things. One, you talk about the strategy. Second, what you mentioned with the technology is, you try to automate some of the business processes with the use of technology. And that definitely will give you competitive advantage, because now you're not doing a lot of manual stuff. You're trying to automate with either with the Google Docs or whatever technology you're using. So talk about that process. That's a little bit difficult to get a handle on. A lot of business leaders struggle in that there's a business process. You can run it manually for a long time, but the cost is different. But if you can start automating some of those processes with the use of technology, it doesn't matter what the technology is, that gives you totally different, first from sustainability standpoint, you can easily sustain it. Second is it automated and it speeds up your growth much faster. If you can talk about that, what are your thoughts on that?
So that's where a lot of business owners, I think that could be the fear when they say, well, we could embrace this technology, but it's going to take us this much time and it's going to cost us this much money. And they stop there. What they need to do is finish the cycle where you go, okay, so it's going to take us 6 months and it's going to cost us X amount of dollars. Okay, fine. But once it's implemented, what's the impact? Like the impact and the payback to your business, I think that's the point you need to focus on. Don't look at the pain, look at the gain. So they need to look at it that way. But I think that's the fear. Sorry, your second question was?
The automating some of those business processes, like what do you think the impact on a business is? What do you guys did with the company? And
it makes your company more valuable. If you automate your processes, if you demonstrate that your company can run without you, and this is where a lot of business owners, they don't want to do it. But we demonstrated that the three of us could actually walk away from the company and it would run without us. We had a team in place. We had standard operating procedures. We had everything documented so that people didn't actually need us. Our goal was to train the people below us to take our job. The company, we didn't have to be the company. And I think a lot of owners, if they embrace technology and they structure the company to run without them, they feel like they're losing their identity, but they're not. They're actually adding value. So there's so many benefits. Plus, somebody's sick, somebody quits, somebody goes on a holiday. You need to have the technology in place that it doesn't matter who's there, your company will run. It might not run as efficiently as if you didn't have the right person in there, but it's going to run. Bills will get paid. People will come to work. Processes will get done. Your customers will get the product. Do that. That's the value right there. And a lot of business owners, the business is them. They identify with it. People identify them with the business. So it's like, hey, this is my company. I'm in control of everything. You don't need to be.
That's a great point. Taking business, a business owner out of business, working in a business, working on a business, if you take them out, that's what, shows that you can run a business without it. But making that happen is the change management that, in order to do that, you have to go through change management. And that's where the fear comes in. You were talking about how big is a challenge on that regard. So when people, business owner trying to go through that, there's a lot of changes you have to make in business in order to get to the state where you can run a company without yourself. That's a big change. What do you see the obstacles for business leaders when they're trying to go through this?
The biggest part is the fear. I think that if there's that much fear, I'm not saying hire me, but bring somebody in to help you. Bring somebody in that's going to make it not as painful as you think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest point. They need to just get over that hurdle to say, no, we need to implement this, because they're not going to last forever. Every business owner out there, they're going to sell their business or transition it at one point or another. They can't live forever. Mm-hmm. But what business owners don't think about is they don't plan for that. So if you're out there right now and you're saying, well, I'm going to sell my business in 5 years, but I haven't started working on it yet, or I want to transition my business to my kids and you haven't thought about it yet, you need to start thinking about it now. You need to start working on it now. And now, it might be a little more painful now, but it's going to be a lot more painful when you get to that point where you go, now I'm ready to sell. But you're not structured properly. You haven't done anything to prepare for it.
Mm-hmm. And especially in our space in Ontario, I was watching a study from RBC or TD Bank. They were showing the numbers that over 70%, 73%, I think the number was, that business owners in Ontario, they're all above the age 55 and 60. So if we are in that age group, the business leaders, that's a high number. They got to be thinking about that transition of business over the next 5-10 years. So they have a big challenges. What are your thoughts on this challenge that
we could talk for another hour about that. There's so many. Your numbers are accurate. There is, and I think there's actually more. But there's that. I don't even know what to say about that. You need to deal with the fact that start working on it now. And other things too are, you've got business owners that they've been running their company and they're running different things through the business and they're doing different things. Not to say that they're doing anything legal, but they're running their business in a specific way that if somebody came and looked at the company right now, it wouldn't be profitable, but it is. But it's just what's going on. So there's things you need to start cleaning up and things you need to do to structure it and make it a saleable business that business owners, they just say, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait. Why? I honestly don't get it, because I know it's wrong. They need to start thinking about it, but they don't.
Could that be part of that? The business owner don't value their time themselves. If you're putting your time in, if you're not valuing it, it could be profitable. But if you put your time in and what you're worth in a business, that will change the story, because now it's a different business.
Yeah, and so one other fear is every business owner thinks their business is worth a number. Yeah. The reality is, I'll bet you 90% of the business owners out there haven't valued their business properly. So in their mind, they're thinking their business is worth X, but in reality, it's not. That's another issue that owners have to deal with, because they're not going to get what they think they're going to get for their business. So they'll just go, I'll just keep running it because it runs, I'm making money, it's paying, I've got some benefits, great. So I don't want to change anything. So, that's another mind block where, get an evaluation done in your business, at least get an idea. You may not like it, but at least you have an idea on where it is. Okay, then you have a choice. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to keep running it. And at the point where I want to sell, then I'll sell and I'll deal with it at that point. Or you can take what you're doing now and go, okay, at least I know what the business is worth. Yeah. Now you can sit here and say, can I improve it? Can I improve profitability? What can I do to make my business better, knowing that it's not worth what I thought it was worth? Mm-hmm. Make some changes so that between now and we actually do sell or transition the business, you've improved it and you're going to get more value out of it.
Yeah, that's easily confused. Cash flow could be confused with the business, the worth. It's just a cash flow. It's not that. So if you can talk about what are the few items that increase business value, but when you try to evaluate a business for business value, what are the top few items that you look for, Todd, or somebody should be considering when they're trying to increase the business value?
It's going to be their team. I'll tell you a lot. So it's going to be your team. Who do you have working for your business? How strong is your team? Again, like I said, can they operate the business without you? Are you the business? Like if you die tomorrow, is the business going to keep running or not? When you look at the profitability, do you have a plan? Do you have a financial model that takes you out at least 5 years that shows your sales, your profitability, your margin, that kind of analyzes your business as a percentage of sales to know, what each area is costing? So show me a forecast, show me a growth plan, show me that the business can operate without you, and show me how you're adding value to your business. What are you doing? Then that's 4 or 5 areas that I think people should look at.
I see. And how do they go about it? So they gotta just keep working on all those things that once. So how do they approach? Especially there's a lot of blind spot. They need somebody like you to work with. Because as a business owners, when you're trying to run a business, I'm not gonna have a visibility to all the blind spot I have to get the business value, right? So how does that work?
You'll still, even if you have a strategic plan, you'll still get blindsided by something. So look at your business today and think about it and go, okay, when I close my eyes, what do I want my business to look like in 5 years? Like crazy, sexy thoughts, like what do I want my business to look like? Okay, great. Clarify that. So you can sum it up in 2 sentences, what I want my business to look like in 5 years. Then what you do is you identify, here's where I am, here's where I want to be. Then it's really simple. Back it up very simply and go, okay, so if I want to be here, what do I need to do each year to get there? And one of the first things you want to do is build a financial forecast. Because if you identify what that forecast is 5 years out and now, you can build a model. And within that model, you can identify people you need to hire, equipment, R&D, et cetera. But even if you look at people, so if you go, I'm doing $10 million a year in sales, by year 5, I want to be doing 15 million. Okay, so that means that I need to have 5 extra salespeople in 5 years. Okay, so I don't want to hire them all at once. So we're going to hire 1 here, and that should increase these sales and that cost. And then at this year, we're going to hire. What you want to do is be ahead of it. And if you have the right financial forecast and the model built, you can see things coming 5 years away or 6 months away. So you can say, where are we? We're on track. Okay, that means we need to start working on this person here, or we need to start looking at that piece of equipment, or we need to have 2 new clients by this date. Build that model and you can predict what you need to do. And if you're ahead of it, then you're being proactive, not reactive.
Yeah. So is there a different approach for when business owner trying to embark on this process? Somebody trying to just increase the business value, or somebody just trying to increase the sales, or there's somebody trying to prepare the business for sale as an exit strategy, or a lot of business in Ontario, they're simply trying to pass their business to family member. A lot of business I see in Ontario, father's been working in a business, now the sons they want to pass a business on to next generation. So is it a different approach to all those different scenarios? It's just one standard approach to deal with all those items.
They're different in some ways, but they're similar in another. The differences are going to be if it's a sale, that's probably the simplest way to do it. If it's a business transition, that'll probably be more complicated, because especially if it's family or anything along those lines. But if you're looking at the growth aspect or the building to add value, that's a similar model. What's going to make it more difficult is, when do I want to sell? Who am I selling to? Or who am I transitioning the business to? Those are probably going to be I would think those would be the more challenging ones, only because from our point of view, I was buying a business with my brother from the man that our mother was divorcing. Wow. So if you want to talk about family challenges, there's one for you, right? So, and that was difficult. That took us a year
to complete the transaction.
Yeah.
So in your practice now with the consulting firm, so let's talk about the same challenge. You're working with the 1 or 2 business owners where they're simply not clear on a strategy, or you're trying to help them the growth plan. That's a small challenge to deal with. You talk about a lot of bigger companies where there's so many business owners, or they have a board of directors to deal with, or they have too many families involved in that, decision makers. How easy is that that to handle compared to 1 or 2 business owners, and they can easily be on the same page, and you can deal with their personal challenges on a one-on-one level, where you're dealing with everybody's challenge in a room.
Individual business owners are easier to obviously work with. I have had a couple of clients where they have involved their team or other people within their leadership team. I've had more challenging experiences, but they were all fairly positive. And I have not yet worked with a company that not everybody was in agreement. I've been fortunate enough that the majority of companies that I've worked with or work with now, they all agree on the destination. They all agree on where they want to go, and they all agree that they need help. It's the ones that, no, I don't agree, or I don't agree with that direction. I don't think we need help. Those are the ones that become more challenging. And the more people that are involved, the more challenging it'll be, especially when you get into more of a corporate organization where you have, department managers or directors. That's when you're challenged by silos in the organization, and it's harder to get things done, and it takes longer. But fortunately for me, I haven't had to deal with that yet.
Yeah, especially when you're working on, a lot of personal challenges from many different people, than compared to a couple of people that you deal with the personal challenges.
Yeah, and some of my clients look at me like a fractional CEO. So I come in there and I'm helping them make these higher level decisions that they either don't know how to make, or they need support to make, or they just want somebody to make the decision and report back to them.
I see.
Right? That helps too.
So does it stay, your interaction with them, does it stay on a C-level, staff, or does it go to manager level, or does it go to shop floor as well? How deep you work with the companies and, where you're trying to help them out to grow or scale?
Oh, I go everywhere. I go throughout the entire organization, and fortunately for me, because I started out as a truck driver and I worked my way through an organization, I can communicate. I can work with people at any level. It doesn't matter to me. And I think the more people you get involved at the different levels, it's going to ensure your success. So no, I work with everybody. And I think you need to. You can't just sit at the top and come into a company and say, okay, here's what's going on. Here's your problem. Here's the solution. And then just give it to them. You can't. You need to work with them. You need to help them. You need to, and it doesn't mean a ton of time. It just means just hold their hand a little bit, help them work through some of these challenges, because you're there for a reason. Help them be successful. And over a period of time, I'll slowly back away. But my entire goal is, when I work with a company, I work with everybody, and I'll start to slowly back away as the team embraces and understands what they need to do. And then all of a sudden they're running with it, which is, it's rewarding to see. Yeah, I love it.
But working with a different industry type, it could be, you came from, poultry industry or other industry. Does it change a lot, or is it almost the same thing? You're just working with the people and a process level, or does it change a lot if you work with the manufacturing companies or any other industry type? How do you transfer that experience to that?
Oh, that's a good question. I thought when I started my consulting business that I'd be all manufacturing and more food related companies. Okay. It's been everything but. Real estate, construction, wealth management, 2 app companies, a couple of small food companies, a CBD company. It doesn't matter what the business is. You either provide a product or a service. And every company, there are certain things that they need to do to operate and grow and sustain growth and be profitable. It doesn't matter what the end result is or what your industry is, they all need to do the same thing. So what I quickly realized was, it didn't matter, because every business, there are certain things that they have to do regardless of the industry. So that was refreshing, because most of my clients, not a lot of them are in food or manufacturing.
So the challenges are same, what you're saying, it doesn't matter what the business is, same challenges, same way of looking at it, same way of solving the problems.
Yeah.
Any difference in any experience from Ontario based or other part of Canada or US? Do you see differences in this field where when people trying to solve problems, it comes down to the same thing?
It comes down to the same thing. My clients have been I've got 2 in the US, a couple across Canada. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter where they are. We need to grow. We need more profitability. How do we grow? How do we plan? We're stagnant. We've got some challenges. How do we deal with it? It doesn't matter where you are. It's all kind of the same issues or challenges that they have.
Interesting. What's in for you guys for next year, Todd? Where are you, with your consulting firm, what are you guys trying to achieve, and where are you trying to be in a couple of years? What's the game plan?
I like that. A couple years, I want to be working globally. I've got clients now across North America, Canada, and the US. I'd like to have a couple clients globally. But as far as my growth, I like being just me, but I'd like to see myself with maybe 2 or 3 other people that I'm working with on a regular basis as my business grows. I'm not in any particular hurry to do it because I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the level of involvement that I have. So I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, I want to be globally, and I might have somebody assisting me and maybe working with somebody strategically to help me.
So what is the driver behind this, Todd? Normally people try to solve business problem, they cut from it, they have a different personality type or something. It's a joy of solving business problem and helping them somebody grow the business, So what is that driver? What's the driver behind all these?
I like helping people.
I see.
I love talking to people about their business. I love finding out what they're doing. I love challenging them and creating solutions for them. For me, it's fun. How's your business going? The more you talk to them, a lot of the solutions are in the business owner's mind already. Like they kind of know what they need to do. My fun is I work with them and I'm asking the questions and I'm challenging them and I'm taking them everywhere that I pull that information out of their head. And then we take that information that's in their head and we formalize it and say, okay, let's create a plan. Like, let's map that out. A lot of people know what they want to do. They're just not sure how to get there. So I just enjoy working with people because it's fun and it's rewarding because I'm able to help them do something that a lot of them didn't think that they could do. One of my clients, I started working with them in the fall. I looked at where their business is and I said, this is where you can go. They're like, no, that's never going to happen. And I mapped it out in the financials supported by information they had in market research. And I said, here it is. And they're like, wow, you really think we can get there? And then the last 6 months, based on their sales trends, they'll probably beat my predictions. So that's really cool when you can look at somebody and say, here's where you're actually going. They're like, really? I can get there? I'm like, yes, you can get there. That's the fun part. When your clients look at you and go, thank you, I love working with you.
Yeah, so it looks like a lot more is execution. So is it being competitive in execution, or is it simply being consistent and being strategic in it, or simply just being competitive? Else we gotta do better than other company, or simply strategically being consistent on a growth plan and just going at it one day at a time?
It's all of it. I think it starts with your plan. And if you are strategically managing your business and every aspect of it, that's what you need to do. So it's just having a plan or a guideline to follow, knowing that you'll be taken off track every once in a while with, something that could happen. But at least at the end of the day, that's our goal right there. And eventually you'll get there. So it's just have a plan and work the plan. Stick with the plan. It's going to get you where you want to go. It's strategy.
I see.
And because I always say that if you're not doing it, your competitors are. You just cannot sit back. Oh, for sure, 100%.
I see. What can business leaders prepare? Everybody's right now planning. It's almost end of first quarter. They're planning for the rest of the year. What can they do to start preparing for some of the challenges? Post COVID. When the COVID is over, they can go back to office and everybody's pushing for revenue levels. Can they do something when still locked down in a certain part of Ontario? Can they still do something to prepare themselves so when everything goes back, so they can scale up much faster?
Yes, you need to. That depends on where they are. If they're in the company that has a plan that's working it, great. Just keep reviewing it. Keep meeting with your team to say, okay, how are we performing against it? So look at your KPIs and just kind of measure your performance. If you don't have any type of a plan and you're just kind of rolling, and maybe with what we're talking about, you're sitting here going, I think we need to have a plan. Get in a room with a bunch of white paper and just start. What's our vision? Where are we going? What are our opportunities? Where are our struggling? What are our weaknesses? What are our strengths? Just identify everything. And what you'll do is you'll start to see some patterns. And those patterns are what's going to help you start to figure out, well, if that's a consistent problem, then we need to find a solution for that. And if that's where we want to go in 5 years, well, okay, great. So it's just talking about it, getting it on paper, and then sitting back and going, okay, so this is what we look like. Let's kind of summarize it and create a plan. Start talking about it. Write it down. Nobody wants to write things down.
Yeah, and business leaders, when they're trying to build a plan, and normally what they know, nobody else know about their business, right? So solving those problems by themselves is always, there's so many blind spots, and getting a help from somebody like you to look at a plan. Hey, listen, I know I can do this, but I need a little bit of help. Running by somebody else, I think that's a huge value that you deliver to business leaders.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. And a lot of the times too, talk to your people, talk to the people you work with. Yeah. Like it's okay to admit that I'm not good at accounting or I'm not good at sales. It's still my company. I may not be the best salesperson, but I have some ideas on sales. Yeah. So admitting that you need help is another hurdle that business owners need to get over. And by asking their employees, they think that what they're saying is, my employees are going to think I don't know what I'm doing. Well, no, they're going to respect you more because you're asking for their help. And you're admitting that you don't know something. And then if it's a solopreneur or somebody that doesn't have a large team, then yeah, you bring in somebody like myself to say, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you identify your challenges and your goals and see what I can do to create a plan for you.
Well, it's also stemmed from business owner when they try to hire people, in the recruiting process, that you're hiring people who are who have a different skill set than you do, right? So if you're weak on accounting, you got to hire people who are very strong on accounting. If you're a little bit weak on sales, you got to hire very good salespeople. So it's identifying that and also finding those people that they are better than you in different skill set. I think that comes from business owners' commitment and also clarity what they're trying to do. Back to your point that you need to get help on a certain things that you're not good at.
I had no problem saying I'm not good at HR. We had 2 HR people. We had an accountant. There's an old saying, right? You surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. Yeah. What's wrong with that? It just makes you look better. Yeah. You've got a great team. Yeah. Oh.
Interesting. Very interesting. So where can people find you? And before we go, did you play a lot of sports growing up, Todd? I had to ask you because a lot of people, they're very clear on their ambitions and on their strategy and they're consistent on doing business. A lot of these people play a lot of sports growing up. It's just my finding. Did you play a lot of sports? Where does that come from? That that drive to push forward all the time.
I didn't play a lot of sports. I figure skated for the majority of my childhood. I played a little bit of hockey. And then from the time I was 13 or 14, I was working at my dad's garage. So after school, I'd go to work. So I just worked. I wanted to work.
So the work ethic came from just starting very, very early on in your life to just start working.
Yep. I was 12 or 13 years old, pumping gas, doing oil changes, helping my dad's working on cars. But I wasn't really a big sports guy. No.
Interesting. So where can people find you, and if they're going to learn or they're going to connect with you, where can they find you and connect with you, Todd?
You can go to my website, griersonconsulting.com. You can email me directly at todd@griersonconsulting.com. My phone number, you reach out, it's 416-624-4864. You can reach me on any of those areas.
So we send this video out to a lot of business leaders. So I will include all those links you provided right below the video as well. So somebody wants to connect with you, they can click a button and reach out to you as well.
That's great. Yeah.
Good stuff. I learned a lot, Todd. You talk to various people over the time, but somebody who has built a company and they've gone through all this, the hard work, and they're willing to share that information with you. I mean, that's a gift for people who are like me. We're trying to build a company or business leader. They are small and they're trying to grow. They're trying to scale up. Somebody trying to share that experience with them. I always find that's a gift that you guys given to the new business leaders who trying to grow a company, because you guys been that that road. You guys work hard and gone through that experiences, and then somebody can like me can take on the experience and learn from it and avoid a lot of mistakes that I'm gonna make along the road. To learn from guys like you. So I learned so much. Thank you so much for time.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me on. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate this. Yeah.
Okay, likewise. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Okay, you too. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.